How's it going, guys? This is Chris with MajorHifi, and today I'm going over what is, in my opinion, the best over-ear wireless release that money can buy you. Unfortunately, you need a lot of it to buy this. If you know anything about T+A, if you're just familiar with them, you probably know them as the intimidating German audiophile company that released a $6,900 headphone called the Solitaire T. And they also released like a little sibling to it, the Solitaire PSE, which you can get for a cool, affordable $3,900. But this is the Solitaire T from T+A. And this goes for a mere $1,600, which seeks to be the most top-of-the-line, audiophile-oriented, over-ear, Bluetooth, true wireless headphone on the market right now. So we'll go over some of the text, some of the specs, some of the Bluetooth features, ANC features, different modes it has, going to take a peek inside of the box. And finally, we're going to spend a lot of time going over what it sounds like. So stick around and let's get into that now. The Solitaire T runs wirelessly on a Bluetooth 5.1 connection, but can also be connected by means of a standard headphone cable and USB-C cable. It takes the crown from the Sennheiser Momentum 4 for best battery life, with a pretty astounding 70 hours of wireless playback. When high quality mode is turned on, this battery life is cut in half to 35 hours. More about high quality mode. When turned on, acoustic transducers are driven by an analog headphone amplifier that's fed by a quad Sabre hi-fi DAC. The difference is pretty noticeable, and I'll get into it a little later in this review. Other technical design elements include passive dampers connected to a cellulose diaphragm that resides on the edge of the Solitaire T's transducers that eliminate high-frequency coil reflections at the source. An active dampening mechanism is used for similar functions on the low end. As for physical design, most of what you see is composed of high-quality metals, aluminum, and composite materials. Aluminum is fairly lightweight and has the Solitaire T weighing in at a respectable 326 grams, while maintaining a self-apparently sturdy and flexible build. So let's have a look inside the box. You get your T+A Solitaire T headphones, some safety instruction and general information manuals, a firm carrying case, a headphone cable with a 3.5 millimeter jack, another cable with a balanced 4.4 millimeter jack, a USB-C cable for charging as well as audio playback, a 3.5 to 6.35 jack adapter and an airplane adapter, and this little detachable compartment in the carrying case for whatever you want to use it for. We can go over a few things about the build and some of the physical features here. So it's made out of aluminum, comes in at, I believe, 325 grams. So pretty average weight for a headphone. It's actually kind of on the lighter side, at least it feels that way. Has a lot of flexibility, can go 180-degree swivel, so fits pretty well around the neck like so or like so. And then also, I didn't realize this when I was writing my written review, but it also folds in like this. So these are all things that definitely improve the durability. It's not, well, it would take a lot to snap this thing. There's also really, really high quality leather on the headband and also on the cushions. Pretty small cups as well. So they do fit like just barely, over the ears. It is over the ears, but it's like bordering on ear, especially if you have bigger ears. I have smaller ears, so they do fit squarely inside of these. In a lot of ways, it kind of reminds me of the PX8. A lot of things about it, just these very narrow pads, the high quality leather on it. Yeah, kind of feels like it when it's on your head too. As far as looks are concerned, I mean, you know, you can be your own judge, look for yourself, but I really appreciate a expensive headphone that has like a more subtle kind of casual look to it. You know, you can walk around with it without feeling like people are looking at you for the super expensive headphone on your head. If you told me this was a $300 headphone, I would believe you. Granted, a very nice looking $300 headphone. And if you told me it was a $1,600 headphone, I would also believe you. So yeah, that's a quality that I like about it. It can kind of fly under the radar, but it still looks pretty elegant and sophisticated. I like the color scheme on it. Just, it's pretty serious looking. I personally like the way that the black looks a lot more than the white edition, but to each their own. And I'll leave that up to you. As far as Soundstage is concerned, I don't think that's where the really premium qualities of this headphone lie. It's not bad. It's not amazing. Actually, once again, reminds me of the PX8 in that regard, in that it's a pretty narrow soundstage. Pans are capable of, producing a kind of like across your face sensation, but it stays very close. It's like narrow and insulated. I don't know if that has something to do with like how small the chamber is that your ear is inside with these, like much like the PX8. But yeah, the soundstage, I don't know. I don't have too much to say about it. Left a pretty neutral impression on me. I don't think it detracts from the listening experience. You don't really get very much height. I would say that the best moments with it are width. I would say that on tracks that go really, really wide, it can pretty much keep up. I don't think you're going to be disappointed with it. I don't think you're going to be amazed by it either. I think the really strong point of the T+A Solitaire T is in its balance. Now, in my opinion, this has the best balance of any wireless over-ear on the market right now. I would say it's a balance where it actually, for once, doesn't sound wireless. And I'm thinking about the Bathus, I'm thinking about the PX8, the other high-end wireless releases this year. I liked them, but there's still that trace of like soft wireless sound to them that's, typical for wireless releases, where, it's loud bass, loud low mids, very steep treble roll off, very cautious with the high mids usually. That's really not the case with the T+A. It does have a very dominant low-end profile, but it sits normally in the mix. It doesn't contribute to that softer sound that you hear from other wireless headphones. It has a good deal of subs in it. I would say mid-bass does most of the heavy lifting. And don't get me wrong, there is a heavy chunk of low end in this headphone, but it sits very naturally with a very balanced treble profile, a very balanced mids profile. So it has a very dominant low end, but it's not like a black hole that's like taking up, sucking up the entire balance and directing all of your focus to, the frequencies between like, 20 hertz and 500 hertz. It boosts the low end, but there's a lot more going on so that the low end sits nicely rather than doing all of the work. Now, in my opinion, the main contributing factor to the balance that makes it really strong and different from other wireless releases is the mids. I don't know if there's some technical reason why this is usually the case, but most wireless balances that I've come across are boosting the low mids a little too much, and I think that that's what gives a lot of wireless timbres that more of that like pillowy kind of like muffled sound. But what I really, really like about the Solitaire T is like vocals, for example, actually sound very natural, where you don't have that overemphasis on the deeper fundamental. Rather, it's getting really well balanced with the kind of like fry and rasp that's in the upper mids. And I think that when you're trying a wireless headphone and you hear that vocals sound actually very natural on them, that's an excellent sign. And I think that that is an indicator of just in general how the Solitaire T handles its mids. Like the main driving components of songs usually, which is, let's say, guitar or synths or stuff like that, they actually have like a more trebly mids profile to them, which is maybe for some reason the first time that I've heard that on a wireless unit. It's not trying to be an easy listening timbre or whatever term you want to use to describe something that rolls off its treble mercilessly. But it's the mids profile that make it sound like just a regular good headphone, not a good wireless headphone, just an actual normal headphone timbre that you would hear. If I heard this tone out of a wired headphone, I would be pretty happy with it. So I think that that's the big thing about the mids profile that I like. I don't have to add an addendum saying for a wireless headphone, such and such. It's actually good. Just it's good sound without qualifying it as wireless sound. And now finally for high end, it actually has like a very present high end, which again is contributing to this non-wireless sound signature. I would even say that even though this isn't what I would call like a trebly headphone, there are times where the highs can just become a little bit too much. There's a little bit of shrillness to it. Honestly, I actually kind of like that in a headphone that can deliver a little bit of pain in its high end. I feel like there are other people out there who might agree with me on that. So it does roll off highs, maybe a little earlier than what you might hear from some sound signatures. But honestly, just the fact that it has highs that can sometimes become too much is, I think, a really good thing, just in the sense that, once again, in the context of wireless audio, I always feel like I want more lift, I want more air in the sound signature, and the Solitaire T definitely brings that. You have vocal air, you have hi-hats sounding really sharp and crispy. It's very revealing of, like reverb tails, that sort of like high-frequency detail. And it's also not particularly sibilant. So aside from mild issues with harshness, which to my ears I would locate somewhere around 4 kilohertz, it's got a very present high end, and it's nice to see that, just in the sense that it has that bass boost, but then along with the balanced mids and also highs coming back in to give it lift, this is a normal, good sound signature in a wireless headphone. So I feel like in that regard, like all parts of the frequency band considered, you don't need to qualify this as being good for a wireless headphone. This is a good headphone, regardless of wired or wireless. Speaking of which, this comes with headphone cables that can be plugged into the right side. It also comes with a USBC cable that you can listen with. So there are a few notes that I would want to make about how listening wired or with USB-C, or listening with high quality mode wirelessly, how those affected the sound signature. So I used a 4.4 balance jack into my iBasso DC06 little DAC dongle combination thing on my phone. And I would say that the primary thing that I noticed was bass and subs got more definition. They were just tighter sounding, a little more responsive. Soundstage, surprisingly, didn't really open up much. I would say most of what I noticed was just low-end definition, and maybe it was a little louder, but I think it affected clarity a little more than it affected anything with volume. USB-C connection was very interesting. So unfortunately, when I plugged this directly into my Pixel 3a phone, I couldn't get it loud at all. I would go so far as to say it doesn't get adequately loud with just a normal phone connection, at least not with my phone. Which is a shame, because what I could get out of it when I was listening with it was it actually did open up the Soundstage. It had a little more width to it. It was a little more compellingly spatial. So, if you have a DAC or an amp that can drive via USB-C cable, I say by all means go for it. Fortunately, if I owned these headphones, I wouldn't really mind that much. I would probably just end up sticking with my balanced DAC connection and also the wireless connection, because both of those honestly were good enough for me. Also, as far as wireless goes, this high quality mode on it is really unique and makes a very big difference. I would say that primarily I noticed it in the low end and the high end. Like the balanced connection, it had a much tighter, more controlled bass to it. I would say it also did a good job mostly smoothing out the shrillness, or it was like traces of shrillness in the high end. Mostly smoothed that out. So it makes a pretty big difference, I would say, on the extremes of the frequency spectrum. But I'm telling you, if you turn on the high quality mode, you're going to hear that difference. I think it's really cool that when you're turning on high quality mode, you're basically turning on a built-in DAC component in here, and that's what's making it sound better. So I would say if you're using these wirelessly, even though you get half the battery life out of them with high quality mode on, half the battery life is still 35 hours. That brings it to basically a market standard at this point. I think that's pretty similar to like what the Sony XM5 is right now. So if you're using these wirelessly, definitely recommend high quality mode. If you have a DAC that drives USB-C, I say definitely give that a shot. See what you think about the imaging. And, it also has some benefits with the wired connection. So, some just subtle differences between how you listen to this thing. And now maybe you're thinking, well, Chris, you really seem to love this thing. Are you going to give it a gold? Are you going to give it a silver? And not quite. There are a few things holding it back. It doesn't get a gold because Soundstage is just a little too average and it's a little too expensive. It doesn't get a silver because it's a little too expensive. I was just thinking, like, the Bathis, for example, goes for $800. And I know that the open secret, the name of the game with headphones is, diminishing returns. So it's not exactly fair for me to say, well, is this twice as good as the Bathis? No, it's not. Do I think it's better than the Bathis? Yeah, I do. I do think that this is the best wireless headphone that I've tried that is available. I think that like the one thing that the Bathis has over it is nothing wireless really has a soundstage like it. So Bathis has a beat in that regard, but honestly, the balance in these, I think, is what makes them really like an innovative headphone. But I would like to see them at like $1,200, like $1,000 to $1,200, so something like that. $1,600 just seems too steep. But if you're looking for the best of the best balance when it comes to wireless, and you don't care how much you need to spend, these are a worthwhile investment. So yeah, that's the T+A Solitaire T. Haven't seen too much out there written about it, actually. So anyway, this is Chris from MajorHifi. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. You can also use Chris10 as a promo code to get 10% off an order from Audio 46. Link for that is down below. So anyway, Thanks again, and I'll see you guys next time.